back once again to the Stadium Journey podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Our website, stadiumjourney.com, is the world leader in sports travel information with reviews of over 2,500 stadiums from all around the world. And we are more than just a wicked awesome website, yo. Connect with us on all of our social media channels at Stadium Journey. You can find audio versions of the Stadium Journey podcast by searching HIAC Talk Radio Network wherever you look for your favorite podcast. If you're looking for video simulcast of the podcast, you can find those on Stadium Journey's YouTube page. And our classic back catalog, 5 years worth of episodes, can still be found at vocnation.com. And for those of you who want to be part of our live studio audience, we record live every other Tuesday night at 7 Eastern at danlaw.tv. The gang is all here again tonight, and we are so excited. No fireworks going off anywhere. Hope everybody spent them all last night. Anyway, Dave Cotney, and up in Canada, they spent all their fireworks last Friday. You can follow him at ProFan9. Mark Viquez can be found at Ballpark Hunter. The other guy, Dan Calachico, is hunting some ghosts. You can follow him at DanLaw83. And I'm Paul Baker. You can find me online at PuckmanRI. Tonight, our topic, we're going to talk about an issue that seems to be encroaching more and more on the sporting experience, talking about gambling. You know, for years, sports leagues seen, well, maybe they gave that appearance that they were fighting off everything that even hinted at legalized gambling. And now,
that's changed.
Advertisements, sponsorships, everywhere. They're in arenas, they're on your television set, they're online. So we're going to say, we're going to discuss, is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Hey, did you know the Stanley Cup was sponsored by DraftKings and Sportsbet and other things? I don't know what these. Well, the games were. Is the cup? No, but give it time before the bottom is the DraftKings Stanley Cup.
The bottom rung will be won't be teams. It'll be
the underneath that piece where the Colorado Avalanche immediately bent it. Instead of the NHL emblem, it's going to have the NHL emblem next to a DraftKings logo. And how long will it? What's the over/under on who's going to bend the Stanley Cup? God, as a person with an addictive personality, God, it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm not like, I can't have it, you must cancel it. But for God's sakes, it's almost as bad as
it's more prevalent than beer commercials now, I think.
It's more prevalent than beer commercials. It's like car commercials now. And it's even to the point where the commentators are telling you, get to the next period. I don't give a damn.
That's true. They are telling you like the latest lines on certain telecasts.
God.
I've learned that there's more gambling going on now than people with erectile dysfunction, because for a while there it seemed that it was all Cialis and Viagra commercials, and now it's all betting commercials.
Yes.
The reason why erectile dysfunction is gone is because gambling makes you hard.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, so that's the secret.
Yeah, that's the secret.
No,
I'm ready to go now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. How many Jamie Foxx videos for MGM, or everybody has like a little tune they play for their betting site, and even listening to sports radio on the internet, the commercials are so prevalent. And it gets annoying, and it's almost like, F you guys, like, I don't want to hear about it. I'm not betting anything. I don't need another addiction in my life that I want to quit 10, 20 years from now, like smoking. Just leave me alone. But I got to tell you something. A lot of my colleagues that I work with, they talk about betting all the time. It seems like it's a simple thing to do, and you just dip your little toe in it, and then they got you hooked. So I'm sure they picked up a lot of newbies.
Go ahead, Dave.
During the Stanley Cup Finals up here on Sportsnet, there were numerous segments where they would cut away from whatever the analysis and go to a special group analysis on just the like betting aspects of it. So now I don't know if that's happening in the States as much, but like on Sportsnet, you now have like the betting experts, and then they would do their little spiel, the two of them. They talk back and forth about, this parlay and this odds and this and that and the other thing. And it was like, people I talked to, it was a big turnoff. A lot of people didn't like it. They weren't interested in it. And let's face it, we have an overabundance of overanalysis anyway. And if this is the trend, just wait until it gets to NFL season, man. Like it's going to be bad. Like Monday Night Countdown is going to go from 3 hours to like 18 hours of coverage.
That was one of the things I kind of brought up in the intro, is that, the NFL has always kind of had this wink-wink relationship with the betting, from Jimmy the Greek being on pregame shows and the lines always being a thing. And I don't know about you guys, but we always had our football cards in high school that we could put our dollar bet in. But yeah, it's encroaching everywhere, like you said. I know that at Gillette Stadium, because I can't really compare it to a lot of places, they have a stand now called the DraftKings stand, where you can go in and I think you can put on some wagers and stuff right there in the stadium.
I haven't seen anything like that. What we see the most up here probably is the Score app. I don't know if you guys use the Score app on your phone. It was when we had Brian Cooper on, one of his projects was the Score app. I think he said it was the second highest rated sports app behind ESPN. And what the Score has done is they have created their own app called Score Bet, which is like so easy to use. It's not funny. At least it looks like it's so easy. I can't say I've actually used it or anything, but you can basically just, ping on your phone, boom, away we go, bet done. And it's married to the Score app as well. So the Score, which has all of the, info and schedules and all that kind of stuff, you hit a link, boom, and it goes over to the Score Bet app, and then you could place your bet and away you go.
I'm laughing at the gift that Dan just put on.
Dan just posted it. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I just said Greg said it. Gregory Koch is here, everybody. It will be renamed the DraftKings Cup presented by Pizza Hut, except in Canada where it's presented by Tim Hortons. But the Stanley Cup won't go there again because it doesn't matter. That Greg said that.
Are we making too much of this, guys? Is there that bigger percentage of fans that bet on games, or are we just hiding in a corner somewhere with our heads in the sand?
Well, we may be some old fogies that are not with the times, but like I said,
makes the games more exciting.
Well, like I said, it's been going on at EPL games in England for quite some time, and it's just it's here in most states, or I'm sure in most provinces in Canada. And a lot of people do it. It's just something that, hey, I'll bet $50 if I can turn that into a couple hundred. I had a guy who almost won. He said he almost won 12 grand hitting all the picks for one specific week in football. He said he missed Monday Night Football. If he had went the other way, if he went with the Vikings or the Giants, he would have won 20 grand or 50 grand. I don't know. As long as you could do it reasonably, as long as there's help for people that get addicted, because I can tell you this, I never smoked a cigarette until I was 20. And then the next thing I know, and I'm turning 40 and I'm like, holy crap, 20 years and I'm still smoking cigarettes. What am I doing? So it's, I don't like spending money. I had to throw out $5,000 for a new AC unit. So, but I get it. If I bet $20 on something and then I won 100, I'd be like, ooh, let me try it again. And then that's where they suck you in. So,
well, I could get into the psychology of intermittent reinforcement and how it is the most powerful form of reinforcement that there is, and that's exactly what gambling does for you. Yeah, you win just enough to say, "Oh yes, I got to do it again."
No, you're absolutely right. For me, now that may not be the case for other people, but yeah, I'll keep my money.
Up here, we had the Pro Line for quite a long time. That was run by the OLG, the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation, and there were a lot of limits to it. Here's progress for you. We probably started pro line betting, which, of course, had limits on the amount of money you could bet. You had to bet 3 games minimum. And it was really, I think it was really designed at being more fun than anything else. And then, of course, the OLG wanted to take a cut. But to show you how things have changed, in 95, the Toronto Raptors debuted. So they were probably granted a stay in, I don't know, 93 or something like that. Does that make sense? When expansion was approved?
Yeah, 93. I remember that.
And it came very close to the NBA pulling the Raptors because of the Ontario betting, because of Proline. And what had to happen is they had to pull the NBA options on Proline. Otherwise, the NBA was not going to take the Raptors. They were not going to take Toronto as a new franchise. So, of course, that has changed slightly, significantly.
Well, you
But
can see why.
I think, honestly, what it is, I think the marriage to gambling has been about finding another revenue stream. Like it's about, like, were those teams making any money off of Proline? No, they weren't, because they wouldn't list like the team names. They just list the cities. You couldn't bet on the Islanders. You would bet on Uniondale. You couldn't bet on the Yankees. You would bet on the Bronx.
Right.
So, yeah, it's interesting how that's changed so much, and I feel that it seems all the time that I'm wondering, well, where is this going to stop? Where are they going to stop finding new ways to just milk fans of their money? And not just like raising prices, which of course they do all the time, but just finding new ways of bringing in money. It's almost unreal.
Well, I mean, yeah, you look at some of these spring football leagues that were all about a betting app. How much money is made from the betting app? How many people are betting on this game? Oh, nobody's doing it. The app's not ready. Okay, the league is a failure. So,
yeah, Dave, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to talk about. You can see why the leagues are going this way or went this way, because the money was out there, and they might as well grab their piece of that pie. So that's why that's why you get in bed with the gambling. And also, what's the biggest market that all these leagues were pushing to move into? Las Vegas. You can't.
Yeah, isn't that unreal how that did an about face in a matter of 5 years?
Right.
Like Vegas was just untouchable, right? Like even when UNLV would play, people kind of turn their nose up, and when the Rebels were great in basketball, like there was always something wrong. And now all of a sudden, Vegas is threatening to be a 5-sport major league city.
Go A's.
Unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, Major League Baseball has flat out said, yes, Oakland, you can move to Vegas with our blessing. Yes, go ahead. And that would just leave what? The NBA not there, right?
Well, it sounds like there's an arena being built, and the NBA is a mere formality. There's now rumblings that the NBA is going to do some expansion, and
to get them up to 32
works is going to be Vegas and Seattle.
Yep. And that would put them at 32. That seems to be the magic number right now.
Yep.
Because baseball's talking about 32 as well. So if Oakland wasn't to move, I'm sure that an expansion team in Vegas would slide right into that slot.
And let's face it, the only reason that they haven't had those expansion discussions in Major League Baseball is because you have Oakland and you have Tampa Bay, which have stadium situations that Major League Baseball is not happy with, and they need the leverage. They need They need Vegas to be leveraged. They need Montreal to be leveraged for those franchises to either, put up public dollars to build, stadiums, or to cut bait and to move.
Absolutely. I want to circle back to another point you made, Dave. I want to see if we can expand on that. Actually, let me go back to where did this start? This was a connection I made in my head, and you guys let me know if I'm totally crazy for thinking this. But I kind of made the connection that this gambling is kind of an outgrowth of fantasy sports in a lot of ways. What do y'all think of that?
Well, it could be. Like I said, I think a lot of this betting gets traced to European soccer, from what I can gather, and they've been doing
soccer. I'm sorry, Mark. Soccer does have a lot of prop bets and stuff that you can make all through the game, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I know there was a time, and I don't know who and I think they contacted Stadium Journey. It was this European company. They wanted to hire people to go to games and be ready for a phone call and take pictures of scores for people placing bets. Now that they claimed it was for something else, but there's a term for it. It was like you were trying to beat the odds. And, it's one thing to get a 20-year-old to go to a minor league baseball game or a soccer game to make bets. But, you're thinking, yeesh, you understand making bets at major events. But, I mean, a minor league baseball game, you're making bets to see who scores. Yeah, bet $10 if this team scores in the 7th inning or if somebody hits a home run. So it's kind of done on a little, I don't know if there's any honesty in that. Obviously, there's people that have been kicked out for doing those things. But I almost took the bait. I was going to go to the minor league baseball game here, take pictures, get paid $100. I thought that was an incredible idea. Just some guy in, Copenhagen who's watching the Indianapolis Indians. Okay, I have $550. You're going to score a run here. I don't know, but yeah, fantasy sports, it probably has involved. I really have not thought about the legacy of it, but here we are in 2022.
I thought it really didn't pick up until COVID. Like, it seemed to really accelerate in the States as far as states are concerned. My memory could be off. I could be missing it, but I really didn't take note of it. I'll say it like this. I personally didn't take note of it until after COVID did the audience-less sports. And that's where I really, I've seen it before, but that's where it really picked off, where it wasn't just mentioned once in a while in a broadcast. Like, it was every commercial break, before and after intermission, in the middle, on the lower third, the upper bug. It was everywhere. Once COVID hit, it was just an excuse to stick gambling in it almost 100% over and over again, along with advertisements in the NHL. Just that's how I remember it. I really can't remember. I'm sure it was before that, and I'm sure Dave can remember better. He looks like he's got a counterpoint. Go ahead, Dave.
No, not a counterpoint, I don't think.
I just don't remember it before that, is what I'm saying. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think technology really pushed everything.
Yeah.
So, were there hockey pools and rotisserie baseball? Were those things before the internet? Absolutely, they were. Of course, one of the great 30 for 30s was the one on the creation of rotisserie baseball.
That was a good one.
And interesting how they all talked about how it just took over their lives. And when Tuesday came and all the stats came in the newspaper, and this was such a huge thing. And then online companies made it easier and made it bigger. Like, you could, you didn't have to go and recruit 10 people to go and do it. You could just go into a league on an app or on a website or whatever. And that's really where the fantasy explosion came, because without that technology, it became really, it was difficult, right? Like, I mean, I ran a hockey pool at my school when I was in high school, and there was just like 5 guys, and we had a draft, and we had fun and everything, but it wasn't the same. And it was a lot of work. You scoured the paper on Tuesday when all the stats came out. Like there was no internet to go to,
Right.
to get the stats, let alone, they were doing all the work for you. So that changed everything. And I think the technology piece is one of the pieces that scares me, because before you at least had to get up and get out of your house and go to a bookie or go to Vegas or go somewhere. And I worry about how easy it is. I worry about when you can just be on your phone and bam, press a button and all of a sudden, it's just like, well, look at Amazon. We have plenty of people who are Amazon addicts. Why? Because it's so darn easy.
Tell that to my wife.
Well, I think Mark was the one saying about how addictive it can be, and it with the ease comes an ease of addiction.
Yeah, it's like your impulse buy at a store, your impulse buy in your underwear in your bed at 2:00 at night, and I'm like that at Amazon. Oh wow, I could get it here tomorrow. Oh, that's a great price for this gadget. Oh wow, that's only $20. It's a hell of a deal. I was going to wake up tomorrow, go to the store and buy it for $40. So,
but these bets, I mean, we've had them forever. I mean, I remember going to March Madness in Buffalo with my dad, and we just happened it was one of these weird things. We just happened to be sitting behind Andrew Kulik and his whole crew. So Andrew was there and Peter, and they had about 15 guys there, and they were making like a whole weekend out of it. And it was fun. It was great. They had bets for everything. They had little pools on. So Syracuse was kind of the home team. And during the Syracuse game, they had all of them put in money to bet on at what moment Jim Boeheim would take his jacket off. Like that was a bet that they had as part of their pool. We've always had, at the Super Bowl party, you have the
Super Bowl
number squares. Buy a square.
Yep.
You ever done baseball squares?
I have not done baseball squares.
All right, I've done that one where, like, if you got a group going up to a game, you put in your $5 or whatever, everybody gets and your luck of the draw, you get a half an inning or a whole inning, depending on how many people you have in it. If your inning has the most runs in it, you win the pool.
There's a baseball game, I forget what it's called, but it basically involves quarters and a cup, and you pass the cup along, and each person puts in a quarter based on that batter, and based on what they do, they can, like, if they get a single, you can pull a quarter out. If they get a double, you can pull out two. If they hit a home run, you get the whole cup, and like those kinds of things. So I've seen stuff like that. So that stuff has been around for forever, but it's like everything else right now. We have to put a spotlight on it. We have to expand it and explode it. We had Star Wars movies back in the 70s, but now you have to have a new Star Wars thing every month.
You guys like Obi-Wan Kenobi? I really liked it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't earth-shattering, but
so to take your question, this is where I was going earlier, and I of course got off.
All right, wait a second. You asked the question about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I didn't get to answer it.
You didn't answer. I waited for it.
I was trying.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was. Well, I forgot to have my microphone on. I thought it was a good show, and then that scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader during the fight, where Darth talks about, you didn't kill me, Darth Vader. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. Darth Vader killed.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
I did like that where he switches.
Oh
from,
no!
Yeah.
Anakin's...
Oops. Sorry, Dave. The lighting.
Seriously, you should have had watched that by now.
The lighting from the lightsabers that would change. That's when I was like, oh damn. Okay.
Okay, and let me interject something. I just watched.
Twice, though. Obi-Wan should have killed him and didn't. That's twice.
Yeah, I watched Jedi yesterday in the not when I was in my basement. It feels like Darth Vader and Obi-Wan could do a lot more things with the Force in 2022 than they did in 1983. That's it. I mean,
they were old men.
That's because there were too many stormtroopers and officers around that had prop bets on at what point, Darth Vader would throw a giant metal box at someone with his mind. There you go.
It's a
It's the
shame we got to
ultimate
get old. Even
segue
Jedis.
back
There you
to
go.
the topic at hand.
All right.
What is the
Nerd
over
alert! Nerd alert! Okay.
What if the
All
over
right.
under of mentioning pork roll before the episode is over?
So
Yes,
let's see.
got
Anyway,
him. I got
okay.
him.
Where were we going? Where do we see this going in the future? What are our future trends? Is this going to get more intrusive? Is it going to? Are we going to have another Black Sox scandal somewhere down the line?
I totally think there's going to be some sort of crisis because it's happened before. And, there was the Black Sox in 1919 where they threw the World Series. In 51, there was City College of New York.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
50.
Yeah. Well, there was City College of New York and NYU and Long Island and Toledo and Bradley and Kentucky.
And Boston College, and
there was Boston College. There was Tim Donaghy for those who don't want to go back to the black and white days. So I think we're due for a crisis again. And here's something that I've always believed, and maybe this was a Dr. Philism or whatever, but you don't solve money problems with money. And just because these guys
you solve gun problems with guns.
Just because these guys got like millions of dollars, right? And that was always the argument that, well, Charlie Comiskey was so cheap, and that's why they threw the series. And these college guys, they weren't making any money, so that's why they did the point shaving. But people will who have money just want more money. Like it's really that simple. And can they bring in more money by shaving points? Sure. If somebody is in big, and I don't know what kind of limits there are. I think that's really the key is are there limits on what people can bet? And clearly that wasn't the case, back in the day, but could you see, I think this has happened in like South America or in Europe where, families are kidnapped or, violence is threatened on athletes or whatever to throw games, or referees, referees are not making, millions of dollars. So I think we're due for a crisis. And then the question then becomes, does pro sports become pro wrestling, right? Where it's all predetermined, right? Where somebody already knows what the outcome is going to be, and that outcome is changed based on, where the money goes. Hard to say.
I don't have a follow-up. I know it looked like I had
Dan think.
I know it looked like I had a follow-up, but I was like, maybe.
Dan had that. I'm ready to fight. He's hating on pro wrestling.
No. Not at all. I don't give a crap. I'm beyond that anymore. You can have it. That's a very interesting point. I'm gonna have to sit on that one.
That's my biggest worry about this is that a tipping point comes.
Is the tipping point that we finally let Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame?
Dan, you just grabbed my final point.
I knew you were doing it. I knew where you were going. I knew it.
One day.
I'm serious, and I'm deadly serious, Paul. So you can take it from here.
Yeah, that was my question to the panel. Pete Rose was kicked out of baseball, is not in the Hall of Fame because of his gambling activities.
Not for sleeping with a 15-year-old.
He did that?
Should look that up.
I should look that up, I guess. Anyway,
Anyway.
With sports' new partnership with the gambling world, is it time to reconsider Pete Rose's lifetime ban?
Yes.
I do, but I think a lot of people blame him for Bart Giamatti's death, and that's unfair.
Listen, go ahead, Bart. Finish your point.
Yeah, and I think if Pete had just said something sooner, then I think about 15 years after, maybe, but it's a shame with Pete Rose. I mean, Pete Rose was one hell of a baseball player, and he's only going to be known for betting on baseball and knocking Ray Fosse over. It's like a lot of guys have bet on baseball. Ty Cobb was somebody that apparently was betting on baseball and was forced to retire. A lot of guys.
So many redeemable things about Ty Cobb, huh?
Yeah. Well,
there's a huge conspiracy theory that says that Michael Jordan only retired from basketball the first time because of gambling problems.
Yes, and that's why his father was killed. I've heard that too.
Yeah, I've heard that one as well.
Yeah, I've heard that. And who knows?
I'm going with standing Pete on Pat, standing Pat on Pete,
standing Pat on Pete.
Standing Pat
I'm not. You know what? I look at it like why reward bad behavior? And it's really that simple. And you can say, well, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. Okay, but he broke the cardinal rule. He knew better. It's posted in every dugout. And clubhouse.
Oh, sure, yeah.
In Major League Baseball.
Rule number one of professional sports. Yes.
Yep. And he can say all he wants that, well, Bart Giamatti was going to let him back in after a couple of years or whatever. But no, I don't think so.
I think if baseball and major sports go that hard into gambling, you can, but you can't be that hypocritical about it. You can't go, well, we're all about it now, and then just go like this, looking over at Pete Rose.
But even if Major League Baseball goes hardcore into betting, are they going to allow their managers to bet on baseball games?
Well, I believe that if they do go hardcore into betting, they still, like you said before, Dave, you don't want this to become a predetermined outcome for our games. So the rule of you do not bet on your games is going to remain. I mean, you've got to have all the people involved in the games, the coaches, the referees, the players above that fray. You cannot have them with some action in the game, because then you're opening a Pandora's box to all kinds of bad stuff. And I hate to say you open it up to pro wrestling, but that was your analogy.
And if we're talking Pete Rose, let's be clear. Major League Baseball doesn't decide whether Pete Rose goes into the Hall of Fame or not. That's
exactly what Greg was adding to the conversation.
Major League Baseball decides whether he is on the ineligible list or not, which he is, right? But there's other people like Roberto Alomar is on that banned list. And there was a bit of a discussion about whether or not he was going to be removed from the Hall of Fame. But ultimately, it's the curators of the National Baseball Hall of Fame that make those decisions. And I'm not sure what Pete Rose's status is. I don't think he can be on the ballot anymore from the writers that the writers would vote on. So it would require Pete Rose to be brought in by, the Veterans Committee.
Yeah, some kind of. They're always making up different committees. So
and let's face the facts. Does Pete Rose have a good enough relationship with his peers that they're going to stand up for him? Probably not. I mean, his best chance is going to be after he's died and after the majority of the Veterans Committee has turned over to a generation that didn't really know Pete Rose.
Yep.
Whether that changes things, maybe it does. But, they ran through the possibility of putting Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame. And that was shot down. I mean, that was if ever there's a litmus test or a test balloon to see if Pete Rose could go in, it's should Joe Jackson go in? And they said no. So
the answer should be yes.
Dave, you're making coherent, intelligent, cognizant points throughout this show.
Yeah, I goddamn hate it. I fucking hate it.
Well, I can tell you this: you look at a baseball player in the 1910s, what they were making compared to what a baseball player was making in the late 70s after free agency. I mean, you're shocked. Well, you're just shocked that Pete Rose did something stupid like this to put himself in such a position. But did he have an addiction? Pete Rose talk? Yeah, did he have an addiction? I mean, at least with a baseball player over 100 years ago, they were making crap. They were they had a, like they got a bonus. They won the World Series, or you won 20 games. You walk in to talk to the owner, and you're like, "Hey, can I get a raise?" You didn't win 21. You feel for those ball players back in the 1900s. If you could pull one of them out and describe what an average season was like, your uniforms, dealing with, injuries, being forced to pitch when you were hurt, spring training when you had to walk, 10 miles from the hotel to your training. And if you complained about anything, they got upset with you, or, God forbid you wanted a living wage. Some of these guys couldn't read a book. They weren't highly educated. You feel for those guys, and it's the position we're in now with, baseball salaries. But that's another story for another day.
That's as Craig Legans would say, HNP, whole nother podcast.
Whole nother podcast. That's
so,
right.
Paul, you're the psychologist, the psychology person.
Like I play one on television anyway.
We're talking
I
about
stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
We're talking about addiction here, right?
Yep. I am
is
not
it
an
not fair
specialist.
to say that 90% of professional athletes, enjoy some sort of addiction with just and I'm not talking about whether they're doing drugs or alcohol or anything like that.
To reach
I'm talking
the level,
about that competitive addiction. So,
Yeah.
Pete Rose, for an example, gets out of, playing baseball, rolls into managing. That's not enough of a competitive piece for him.
Yeah.
So he, jumps in and he's betting with a bookie,
Yeah.
right?
You were talking.
Look at Michael Jordan and the stories of him with his, $10,000 a hole golf games and stuff like that's what these guys do.
Yeah, I was just going to say you had brought up Michael Jordan's gambling, competitive streak, and Charles Barkley has talked about how much money he has lost gambling. Antoine Walker, do you remember Antoine Walker gambled away his entire fortune he made during his playing career afterwards? You could probably go on. And for these guys to reach the level in their field that they are, I would absolutely say that they have an addictive type personality. Absolutely. You have to get that kind of laser focus too, because how many guys are that talented? Lots. How many guys make it that extra level? You need that something that takes you from just being a great athlete, because you can be a great athlete, not be a professional athlete in your sport. It takes that something extra to make that last step. And I think that is something in their brain that is wired differently than me anyway, because I don't have that kind of killer instinct in me. So I would, to answer your question, I think absolutely they have that kind of personality. So would gambling be a danger for a lot of these guys? Absolutely. We just gave 5 examples real quick off the top of our heads.
It is such of course it's an addictive personality to be that committed to something and that good at something. Of course it is. This is asking to be a disaster. This is asking to be Pete Rose all over again, minus the manager situation, that situation, him being in the position that he was in, which is asking for trouble. Not to mention the fact that, take this ride with me, that while other rights are being taken away, we're just feeding another addicting thing that is just being done for the sake of money, like alcohol, like cigarettes, like gambling.
Hasn't that been the marriage with sports all along?
Cigarettes
and alcohol, and
almost every old picture you see of old time baseball. I can't count the number of pictures I've seen of old Connie Mack, and right next to a soap ad is a big old cigarette.
Oh yeah,
big old cigarette
or chewing tobacco.
Just think of how easily addictive gambling is. How many of us, there's 4 of us here. How many of you have been, say, just gone to a casino for an evening, and when I go, I've got $50 in my pocket. This is what I'm spending. When it's gone, it's gone. But how many of us have sat in front of a slot machine or sat at a blackjack table and said, "One more hand, one more pull."
Not me.
I will never forget my 21st birthday. And I was like, I'm gonna go drive down Atlantic City, spend some money. An hour later, $200 later, I was like, well, I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I think I'm never coming back. Now,
Yeah,
of course, right after that, I learned, and my favorite thing is the electronic poker tables. Well, I could make $100 last hours down. I'm king of that. Just click, click. But that 21st birthday part, when I turned 21, oh man, that was a bad idea. Oh, I'm so bad. I'm still mad
spent
about
my
that.
21st at a strip club, but that's another story.
I have never been to a strip club. I've been
I
by
was in
it.
Vegas. I was in Vegas.
I was in Groton, Connecticut, with a bunch of legendary brawl with a bunch of Marines and a bunch of the guys from the company my dad
I
worked for.
was afraid of seeing my stepsister there, so I didn't go.
Yes, Dave.
I can't say I like when we went to Vegas, the casino was such a turnoff. And just because there was like so much smoke, it's probably the last place in Canada or the United States where you can actually smoke indoors.
Shelbyville, Indiana. Okay, go ahead.
And it was just so gross. So one of the things I hated the most about Vegas is you have to walk through a casino to get anywhere. You want to go to the monorail? Okay, you got to walk through the casino. And it just smelled so bad. So to go in the casino was not great. When I did go, I made a point. I wanted to take my $20 and go and put a bet down on the Vegas Golden Knights for the game that we were going to, just to say that I did. And I did, and we won. So that was good.
Yeah, go back to the casino to cash in.
So how much did you win with that $20? What'd you turn it into?
I forget. I think it was like 35 or something like that.
Okay.
That was pretty good. But we will go to the horse races once or twice a year. And I think part of the key for that is not knowing anything.
Oh, so horse racing. We didn't even talk about horse racing.
We're totally just having fun. Like,
when was the last time I went to a horse race?
I went to the Pimlico one time, and that was my last time. And that was back in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, we bet on the Derby. Okay, go ahead.
What's funny though is could betting on baseball or whatever like end up like that, where I don't know if you've ever looked at a horse racing program, but they inundate you with information, right? Like there's numbers like left, right, and center. It's overwhelming. So
Greg just said even when there isn't a casino, they have slot machines in the most random places, like the hotel pool.
And a 7-Eleven. I went to a 7-Eleven in Vegas, and there were slot machines there, and somebody was playing them.
Yeah, and to interrupt Dave even more, Illinois has about like sub shops and bars and just auto dealerships.
If I was that, I'd be dead.
Okay, go ahead.
I would owe money. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say our system for placing bets at the horse races now is we just pick the names that we think are the coolest in that race, or if there's some connection for us, like that's how we pick. But all of this information that we're getting on, like we said with Hockey Night in Canada, they go to the betting corner and they feed you all this information. Baseball could be the worst for that because there's just massive amount of ridiculous statistics now. Even that normal baseball people. Yes. Yeah. It could be to the point where, and I think that's where horse racing has not died, but it's really fallen off, is that you really, 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 really got to be involved to know what's going on. And most people, they just go and I'm going to bet $2 on this race, and I'm going to bet on this horse because I like the name, or I like the color, or, this jockey is 2 inches shorter than that jockey, or whatever. There's really no rhyme or reason to it.
My parents used to like to go to the dog tracks. We used to have a lot of dog tracks up there, and they would always go on if it was rainy night, really bad rainy night, they would go to the dog track because it would just make everything so random. And they could just, like you said, I'm picking the red one, or I'm picking the one because this guy's name is, Aloysius or whatever.
What's funny about all of these ads though is that the OLG has required is a little disclaimer to be made. If you know somebody with a gambling problem, they should contact the OLG, right?
I think legally they have to do that.
Probably.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's an addiction that, and I wonder if there's any stories out there where people putting themselves into a hole or wasting a lot of money on that.
Ask Antoine Walker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at just, I listened to WFAN with Craig Carton. He was put in jail for his gambling addiction. So he does a show, I think, on Saturday mornings where he talks to addicts and he gives advice, and he kind of like a therapy session.
What was the name you just said, Mark?
Craig Carton.
Do you remember the quarterback for the Colts? Art
Leicester. Yeah. Ohio State.
Leicester. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah. He ruined his whole career. The guy I remember my first Arena Football League game I think he was quarterbacking. He was making a comeback. Everybody was excited. I'm like, well, who's this guy? Why was he banned from the NFL? I think he still served jail time, years later. So it's I'm sure a lot of people can do it recreationally. It's just like with me and cigarettes. I was never really addicted to them, but just smoking a pack when you go out with, I don't go out to the bars like I used to.
It becomes part of your routine.
It becomes part of your routine. I remember there would be nights that I would be on the phone, or I would just chill outside on my porch in my apartment, smoke a couple cigarettes at night, because it was like a cool thing to do. It was something to do. And, you realize once you stop smoking, you don't smell like an ashtray. It doesn't get on your beard or your face. Dave talked about the casino having cigarette smell. I went into a bar a few years ago in Shelbyville when I was doing a review on one of the high school fields.
I'm sorry, whenever you say Shelbyville, I think of The Simpsons.
Shelbyville, yeah. Well, it's about 45 minutes towards Cincinnati on 74 from where I am. There's a bar there. I walked in there. Wow, that cigarette, was that pungent? And you get out of the car, you get out of the bar, you go in your car, and you smell like you had cigarettes. It was like, the early 2000s, late 90s again. It's like, good Lord, now I know why they banned cigarettes from bars and restaurants. Thank you.
Back in the day, man, we had to go meet girls and went to the bars on a Friday, Saturday night, man.
Yeah.
You came home, your whole apartment reeked because
you
brought it home with you.
And if you dated a girl who smoked cigarettes, you say, oh, yeah, you could smoke in my room. That's because, you're trying to get lucky. You smell like an ashtray, but you did it for, whatever reason. So, yeah, those days are over. I don't have to worry about that. I'm a married man. So my wife doesn't smoke. I don't smoke. So
I guess we should conclude the show with a little, if you need help with your gambling, please call 1-800, whatever the number is, right?
Yeah, no, it's something that can get vicious.
So Dave, thanks again for a great idea for a show. And we were bouncing around ideas. We're like, gambling. Can we do that? But man, this was, I don't know about for you guys, for your listeners, I think it was a pretty interesting conversation. So
don't inflate his ego. We'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't even say anything about my team winning the Stanley Cup, as you were like bad mouthing the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, we dropped. Who was the guy who passed out while he was holding it over his head? Was that McKinnon?
I saw that. I forget.
I saw it. Somebody was sitting at a bar.
Toronto?
The cup
Toronto won the cup. It's 1967.
Toronto has my
team. You can't sit there and tell me you don't want to get a team in Quebec and then go, hey, well, my team won the Stanley Cup. They used to be the Nordiques.
I went with them. I moved.
No, I mean, I picked. Listen,
was Quebec your team initially?
Not initially, but they were. I liked Quebec.
He was a bandwagon once they picked up Sakic and Forsberg, and
when actually what it was the Maple Leafs traded for Wendell Clark.
Yeah.
They traded their best defenseman to the Islanders, Kenny Johnson. Mm-hmm. They traded for Wendell Clark, who was already passed, and I was so upset. I'm like, that's it. I'm off. And at that time, I really liked Joe Sakic. I thought he was great. So I sort of swerved over to the Nordiques. And had a couple rough years, and then they moved, and I moved with them.
Did you all watch
Interesting.
the E60 show, the Unrivaled Red Wings Avalanche?
Not yet, but
Watch it.
I
Watch
read
No,
it.
well, that's gotta
watch
be awesome.
I
right?
read a book called Blood Feud, and it was like that was the best rivalry in sports for a period of time there.
They pretty much interviewed all the key players in that whole thing, and they actually got Darren McCarty and Claude Lemieux to sit down together.
Wow.
Lemieux.
Wow.
Because that was the
So-
start.
Dan likes Claude Lemieux.
It's a 2-hour-long
Lots.
show. It is worth
Claude
your while.
Lemieux can eat a taco.
Can suck a big dick.
Yeah, no, I say you can't say that. I'm not editing that out.
All right, guys. Before we lose control of this,
That was the
let's
guy
rush-
from North Jersey that said that. I just want to point it out, not the guy from South Jersey.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get
All right.
some angry letters for that one, but
There you are. You
Uh,
son of a bitch.
what was it? Did anybody watch the USFL championship game?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. That was awesome, Mark.
You know what? I didn't
even know they
that's
had a
how I
championship.
felt. That's how you know what? They actually had some people in the stands, and actually it was not too bad. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was actually a good crowd. And then
So
Philly did
wait
the
a
Philly
second,
thing.
didn't Birmingham win?
Yes.
So
Philadelphia
know,
lost. But they beat the
it's very-
Generals the week before. So
to circle
bunch of
back,
teams-
doesn't it
Careful.
make you
Tread
raise your
lightly.
eyebrow like the
Tread lightly.
one home team
Mm.
won the whole thing?
You know what?
Yeah.
Now that you
Almost like
mention
it was
I'm not
planned.
recognizing this. Yeah, I'm not recognizing this
Yeah.
now.
I'm not recognizing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm recognizing beating the Generals as the wait.
Yeah,
no, not
I
the
was
Gen-
upset that the Generals, who had won 9 in a row, won the division, just laid an egg against the Philadelphia Stars.
Oh, come on. It was on an interception. You
Yeah,
had a
you're
chance
right.
and then he
You're
caught
right.
that and
Yeah,
it was like,
you're right.
oh.
You're right. Yeah.
So we have just set the Guinness Book of World Record for most USFL talk by a non-USFL.
when New Jersey and Philadelphia
organization.
play. Yeah.
No, I was settling in. I'm like, this is gonna be good. At least Philadelphia will get fudge.
Ooh,
Oh,
man.
Didn't take
man.
that long.
Come
fall apart.
on. Be fun. Be fun.
All right. We're gonna wrap it up now. Dan, where can our listeners
Yay.
follow you?
Follow me at Dan Long 83.
Mark, any stadium journeys planned for the upcoming fortnight, and where can our listeners follow you?
I'm supposed to go to the Cincinnati Reds game on Thursday afternoon. We'll see how that goes. And I may even check out the Cincinnati Steam. That's a what is it? It's a summer collegiate league in the Great Lakes Shore. They play at the Reds complex, which is a very nice ballpark facility. So, Cincinnati's got some sneaky good small little ballparks that it just have been cropping up lately. So I hope to do that. You can check out my adventures at Ballpark Hunter on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And I have 1,000 subscribers.
All right.
Hit that milestone. Now I have to get those hours up to get paid. So watch it. Watch some cool videos. I have some new ones coming out from my Texas trip. I have a Chicago White Sox one coming out as well. So it should be
Start
some good
uploading
viewing.
my videos to his channel.
Yeah,
and
no
get
kidding,
some of
huh?
that money. Yeah.
So now I guess I only need 987 more followers.
You got to pimp it out. I tell you, I did a lot of work.
If I'm pimping something out, it ain't gonna be my YouTube channel. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you want to get it's
I
I
got
don't
more
know.
than 1,000 followers there, baby.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right,
Dave,
where are you going to be?
Dave, where are you gonna be, and where can we follow it?
You can follow on Twitter and Instagram at Profan9. Next week, heading to Rochester, one of my faves, the Rochester Red Wings. And then we're going to kind of keep an eye on the weather and have some needs to stop in Toronto for the Intercounty Maple Leafs and
nice.
Brantford for the Brantford Red Sox.
Christy Pitts.
Christy Pitts, yeah.
Nice.
Krusty Pitts.
Christy Pitts.
The price is right at Christy Pitts. So
It gets a 5.
it's free.
Yeah.
So
What the hell are you
well,
talking about?
we'll see how it goes. Christy Pitts is where the Toronto Maple Leafs of the
Baseball team.
Intercounty Baseball League play.
Yeah.
So anyway, follow those at Profan9.
And I asked.
Let's see. For me, I got a whole lot of Brockton Rocks action at Campanelli Stadium coming up over the next couple of weeks as the Futures League season starts to wind down. And is it next Monday? What's today? The 5th? Yes, next Monday. Big credentialing coup for Stadium Journey. I got credentialed for the Infosys Hall of Fame tennis tournament at the Newport Casino. The tournament right before Wimbledon. So I will be there next Monday hanging out and hobnobbing with all the Newport socialites.
Ooh,
So that'll be fun.
Didn't I
very
understand a
Tony.
word he just said?
Very Tony, don't you think?
I was disappointed that there was no mention of Paul Baker in that big front page ESPN article on the Boston Rocks. They missed the boat on that one, or the Brockton Rocks. They missed the boat on that one.
There was an article in the Boston Globe where they mentioned me kind of sideways, but just said the PA.
Kind of sideways.
Sideways.
And the PA guy sucks.
Yeah, they said no. Big news coming out of Brockton. Stay tuned.
Big news? Are they going to be affiliated with the Red Sox?
Can't say anything.
I know what it is.
Oh,
Paul and Pam are going to redo their vows to get the big crowd.
That better
out
not
of
be the
Brockton.
big news. Seriously,
No, that is not the
Do
news
they
now.
wear those jerseys all the time? The White Sox
The White Sox
ones?
retro '80s ones?
Yes.
That's their primary jersey. Yes, they have
Nice.
3 different ones. Those are the primaries, and their hats are the old logo with the player and it says ROX.
Are those
They
popular with the
And
masses
they
there?
haven't given me anything yet. Excuse me, Rocks Management. You have not given me anything yet. No hat, no shirt, no nothing.
Have they gave you money?
They're
And
not listening to this. What are you calling them
Okay,
out
then
for?
that's it.
and
That's it.
I know they have big fat guy sizes because there's some big fat guys who work there. Anyway,
They are changing their name from the Brockton Rocks to the Brockton Rocks, and their fight song will be a parody of Cleveland Rocks. That's from Greg.
Well, they got to do something. How's attendance at Rocks games?
they
these
are
days?
last in the Futures League, averaging about 780. But
So it's going well.
that is double last year's attendance.
Okay, they're moving up.
So it's a long.
it's going
climb-
well.
a long
It's
climb
it's
back.
just too big of a stadium, right? I mean, they're not
No,
going to.
it actually had fallen off the cliff due to neglect of the
Yeah.
stadium, neglect of the team. There's actually the stadium actually a couple years ago was infested with raccoons.
Yeah, my back porch has a couple raccoons. That
One-
keep telling
one-
my
it was
wife
one of
they're
those
not
things-
cute.
One of those things where the city owns the ballpark. They hired somebody to manage it. They mismanaged it, didn't pay any attention to it. Nobody at the city was really doing their job and overseeing what they were doing. So it just kind of sat there and kind of started to fall apart. And it was really
Ooh.
sad to go to. And we had gone to games and there'd maybe be
Remember the
40
good days.
people, 40 people in the stands
Mhm.
and no on-field shenanigans, no atmosphere. I mean, our Stadium Journey fanfare score dropped from a decent score all the way down to below 2. But
Ooh,
the life is back on the weekends. We're getting 1,500. We got 2,000
baby steps.
on the 4th. So
Good.
it's coming back. The
But
excitement's coming back.
that's what you have to do. You just have to let people know what's going on there again.
Get
and,
the word out there. Having all
yeah.
the kids of the major leaguers has been
That's huge.
a big, huge thing. And I just can't believe how large a human being David Ortiz is in person.
Oh,
He is a mountain. And we had him there one day when he was there. Manny was there. Keith Folk was there. Gary Sheffield. And he was as big as the other 3 guys put together. It was amazing. But anyway, let's see. You can find all of our 2,500 stadium reviews, news items, and other feature stories on the website, stadiumjourney.com. Don't forget to connect with us on our social media channels at Stadium Journey. You can find the audio versions of the Stadium Journey podcast. Just search HIAC Talk Radio Network wherever you look for your favorite podcast. Video simulcasts of our podcast, like the one you're watching right now, can be found on Stadium Journey's YouTube page, and our classic back catalog of episodes can still be found at vocnation.com. And be part of our live studio audience like Gregory Koch, our good friend and number 1 fan, every other Tuesday night. Yeah, Greg, you're number 1. Every other Tuesday night, 7 Eastern at danlaw.tv. No, I meant this finger. And you can join us again in 2 weeks.
picky.
That'll put us at July 19th, when we will be joined by our Pittsburgh regional correspondent, Patricia Beninato.
cool.
Talk about the fabulous facilities of the Steel City. Say what you want about their teams. Their stadiums are first rate.
And I will.
Thanks everyone for your support and for joining us tonight. For Dan, Mark, and Dave, this is Paul wishing you all safe stadium journeys and close games.